Oh, sorry everybody, I'm eating my breakfast. Just give me a moment. Actually, you know what? Give me exactly 10 minutes as I sit here and eat this Cliff Nut Butter Bar. And after those 10 minutes are concluded, I will then review the chapter. So how's everybody doing? Okay, here we go, everybody. It's been a long time coming for this. Has been a long 10 minutes. But this is finally the chapter where we find out Vegapunk's message. Hey, you know, just for the lulz of it all, how many minutes has it actually been since the message began? I feel like it's a lot of, oh wow, that's a big number. That's 92,000 minutes. Whoa. All right, now granted, we had a break month, so that accounts for a lot of that. But yeah, the message was originally like announced like he was going to wait 10 minutes. That was back in chapter 1108. This is chapter 1113, which it's only been 5 chapters. It doesn't feel like that because of the drought month and everything, but it's only really been 5 chapters. So in the Tankobon, that'll flow a lot better probably. But yeah, it's been a while. Vegapunk takes his sweet time, you know? One Piece, chapter 1113 review titled Stalemate. And it's actually very appropriate that the chapter is titled Stalemate because the cover page is not a continuation of Yamato's cover story, but a double-page spread of Robin playing chess. And I like chess, and all of the Straw Hats are the pieces on the chessboard, which is such a clever idea. I really love this. This actually might be one of my favorite ones. I know I say that a lot, like this is one of my top 10 favorite cover spreads, but like no, this one's really high up there. So Chopper represents all the pawns. We'd have just like an army of choppers on the board, like charging forward, all wearing different colored like knight armor. I know he's a pawn, but it's like armor, like some of them are more knight-esque, you know, with like the visor and everything. And then they're also labeled on the bottom like what piece they are. So we got a bunch of different choppers. Then Zoro and Sanji respectively are the different knights. Okay, so Sanji is like a knight in shining armor kind of thing, you know, like a Sir Lancelot kind of figure. He's riding on a white horse that looks a lot like Cavendish's horse, Ferrul. And then Zoro has his 3 swords all hockeyed up, and then he's also riding on a black horse. All right, so that's pretty neat. The 2 bishops are Brook and Usopp. Usopp has like a bow, and he's like archer, and then Brook is off to the side with some tea, and he's just hanging out. He's just like, oh, I'm not in the game yet. Yo, I'm just gonna hang out back here and sip this tea. And, you know, whenever Robin wants to move me into the board, I'll do that, yes. Jinbei and Frankie are the rooks. Jinbei is, like, on a big, giant, like seat, like, throne that looks like a rook. And then Frankie is the rook because he's a cyborg. So he's like, rook armor, Frankie! Yeah! Go ahead, Robin. Castle me all you want. Oh, yeah, let's do it. All right, let's go. You know, Nami is of course the queen because, well, Robin is the one playing the game, so she's unavailable. So Nami has to be the queen, and she has a nice throne, and she's chilling back there, and she's just like, oh yeah, I'm just hanging out. I'm the queen, yeah, the most valuable piece, hanging out here, you know. And then we have Luffy, of course, as the king. And anybody that plays chess, I mean, I don't play chess well, but I do play it. Robin is moving the king, like, right into it. Like, the way that this board is positioned, like, a couple of the pawns are moving forward. Brook and Usopp are kind of hanging back a little bit. I think Brook is not in play yet, but Usopp is. Sanji and Zoro are definitely in play. Frankie and Jinbei might not be, just because the way this is all perspective. But, yeah, basically, like, Robin is like, yeah, I'm just moving the king right onto the board, like, let's go. And there's a title at the top that says, the king is a fighting piece, because typically in chess you wouldn't just like, I'm gonna move the king, let's go full front attack with the king, you know? That's not usually how you play chess, although I'm not great at chess. Maybe there is a strategy where it's like, you know what, king's going to the center of the board, watch this. Maybe there's like a high level stratagem for that. I don't know that much about it, but in this particular instance, Luffy's the king, he's gotta fight, damn it, all right? Also, Oda drew Luffy with a sword on his back here. Like, you'd think Luffy being the king, like Nami has a crown, you'd think Luffy would have a crown, doesn't give him a crown, he's in gear 5th, and he just has the sword on his back, you know, and also, considering he's gear 5th Luffy, he could spawn a sword. Like, if he can make goggles, he can make a sword, you know what I mean? So he can make a baseball bat, he can make a sword, so maybe that's hinting at something later for Elbaf, or maybe later in this arc, I don't know, he takes out a sword and cuts a Gorosei in half, I don't know, but very, very clever cover page, really love this one, Oda. Okay. So we continue where we left off last time. We have Saint Marcus Mars arriving inside of Punk Records, and he's walking through the warehouse, the hangar. This is where Vegapunk's brain is, and he just kind of is like, so this is the largest brain in the world. The eponymous Punk Records. You know, I used eponymous correctly. Punk Records is written right across the side of it. It's very eponymous. All right? Well, anyway, we also have the continuation of Vegapunk's message where he gets out and he's just like, well, Quasar, I could use a couple extra minutes for my coffee to cool down. I'm the smartest man in the world, but I've yet to figure out a way to drink coffee at the most appropriate temperature. Either way, doesn't really matter. It's been about 10 minutes. I suppose I've given everybody sufficient time. Does everybody have their visual Denden Mushies ready? Maybe we can take another 10 minutes. And everyone's like, no, come on, let's do this. And it's like, oh, okay, Quasar, all right. So, well, I guess we just get into it, right? Test. We have Shaka and Pythagoras in the background. Shaka's like, 30 seconds, Stella. And then Pythagoras is like, oh, man, I'm kind of nervous. I'm gonna die soon. Oh, I also mean that, yeah, I'm nervous because we're broadcasting to the entire world. Poor Pythagoras. I mean, like, if any of the Vegapunks had to die, I mean, Pythagoras, sure. I mean, at least Edison might still be around and Lilith's still around, but Pythagoras was a cool guy. He had, like, a little body inside of his little bigger body. That was neat, a little mech thing going on there. But anyway, it's interesting, because I was curious on what Marcus Mars's reaction was going to be when he looked up and he saw Vegapunk's brain, which it is what it is. It is Vegapunk's brain. It's not just his brain. It's not like a brain in a jar like from Futurama or anything like that. It's literally Vegapunk's head. Like, Vegapunk wasn't kidding when he said, I just cut off my head, like he was giving himself a haircut. Like, that is literally what it is. He cut off his head with skin and hair and everything still on it, popped it into a tank, and there's a giant tank. It's like, that's where the bubbles were coming from, like, and then all of the different tubes and everything are attached to the brain case, and then the brain is, the head is just floating in there with the hair and everything, and that's Vegapunk's brain. And so Marcus doesn't seem like egads or anything like that. He's just, he is kind of like taking his time a little bit with it. He's like about to crush the Denden Mushi that's right there in front of him. And he does get distracted by the brain. And he's like, so is this your true self, Vegapunk? What is death when you can do something like this? Like you can detach your brain from your body, so if your body is dead, does that mean your consciousness lives on through the brain? What even is death, then? What is the soul? Now, in the case in the One Piece world, souls are confirmed to 100% exist, okay? So that adds a whole new layer to this, but the question is, like, is the soul attached to the mind, and the mind is the brain? So this is, Marcus is kind of having, like, some philosophical questions he's bringing up here, like, what truly is death? Which is interesting coming from him, because he's like a pseudo-immortal. I mean, like, in the regards of them, I feel like they were regular humans that got turned into their yokais and forms by Eam and stuff. So Marcus probably never has died. He's just been alive for a very long time and maybe had his biology changed around by Eam, so he's like the Itsumade and everything and he can regenerate, but that doesn't mean he's ever died before, so he would have no idea about, like, what is truly death. Is Vegapunk dead because his body, his heart stopped beating, or is it because the brain, you know what I mean? I mean, I think for a very long time, humans essentially felt like the core of everything, certain cultures and religions, depending. It was the heart. The heart was more important than whatever's up here. And then later on, it's like, no, the heart, I mean, the heart is very important, but the heart does not store memories or consciousness or anything. That's all up here in the brain, right? So, Mars is having a little bit of a, it's like, I wonder what this is all about, right? Anyway. So you have the message going over the Den Den Mushi. It's right in front of Marcus. He's like, oh, this footage will reach the entire world, Quasar. I take pride in that connection. However, it is also a great burden to me that I am about to reveal this secret with the entire world at once, okay? So we now cut to different parts of the world again, places we did not see last time. Like last time we saw like Water 7 and Dressrosa. First place we cut to is Syrup Village, Usopp's hometown, so we get to check in with Kaya and the Veggie Pirates. And that's cool, because it's been a while since we've seen Kaya. So I guess some people from the village have showed up at Kaya's mansion and are like, Miss Kaya, we don't want to miss Vegapunk's, message. We want to pull it up on the big screen. Nobody in town has a visual Den Den Mushi. You probably do, right? You're rich. You live in a mansion. And so Mary answers the door, and he's like, no, I'm sorry, we don't actually have one. It's like, what? But you live in a mansion. It's like, they're giant snails. Do you know how much that, like, they're not like house pets. They're like a horse, except they're gooey and slimy, you know what I mean? Like, they take a lot of food. I mean, I guess we could have afforded one, but we never thought that something like this was gonna happen. So, nobody in Syrup Village has a visual Den Den Mushi. They're very big, and I would equate them like horses. You don't just go out and buy a horse as like a household pet. You have to be properly set up, like with a barn, and know how to take care of a horse, you know what I mean? So Mary just kind of like shuts the door on everybody's like, go back home and just listen on a regular Den Den Mushi. I don't have time for this. Anyway, Miss Kaya, I will prepare the tea. And so he goes over to make the tea. We have Kaya, we have Pepper, Carrot, and Onion, the three veggie pirates that were Usopp's original crew. Good crew they were as well. They could sail the seven seas. If the veggies came with the Straw Hats, they would have been able to, like, they would have found the One Piece already, right? They really needed some extra help. But Kaya needed, assistance in everything that she's doing, and, they needed to protect the village. They drove Django out after the whole events of the Syrup Village arc, so they're pretty strong, I'd say. They're at least, not Yonko level, maybe Admiral level at least, yeah, probably. So Kaya's there, and she's just talking with the veggies about Vegapunk. It's like, oh, he's made big strides in the medical field as well, and Pepper was like, oh yeah, of course, I know that, and Carrot is like, no, you don't, you idiot, you're a big liar. So he's just there trying to impress Kaya. He's just like, oh yeah, Kaya, oh yeah, Vegapunk in the medical field, I've read all of his books, all of his research, and Carrot, because they're like, like 12-year-old kids, and they're just like, yeah, Kaya, yeah, and it's like, no, you idiot, no, you're just trying to impress Kaya. And then you have Onion off to the side. Onion has read a lot about Vegapunk, because he's like the nerdy one of the group, and he's like, guys, you should really care more about Vegapunk, he's a really important guy, We have the Marines in the intelligence division. They're all fired up and ready to go. They got their headphones on. They got, the transcribers or whatever. They're ready to write down every little aspect of this message because they're the Marines intelligence division. We have Laboon and Crocus at the Twin Cape. That's really cool. I imagine Crocus in his retired life, he just sits around in that lazy boy chair with the paper, like that lounge chair, and he's just listening to like classical music, like welcome back to easy listening on the Den Den Mushi channel, and just like, ah yes, this is great, this coming in, important message from Vegapunk, and then Crocus is like, huh? Hey, Laboon, you want to hear a message from Vegapunk? Laboon. Okay. This is just his day, right? We have the futuristic island of Baltimore, the kingdom of Baltimore on Karakuri Island. This is the place Frankie got sent by Kuma for the 2-year time skip, the place he developed the Frankie Shogun and the laser beam and everything, and it is also the birthplace of Vegapunk. So there's a little kid on the island that's just like, wow, was Vegapunk really born here? And then we have an old man who is the old man from Frankie's stay there. So we don't actually know this guy's name. His grandson was named Keaton, and his name is just Keaton's grandfather. We don't know what his name is. But the way he talks is just like, oh yes, good old Vegapunk. It's been a while since he's been here, but, you know, he's Baltimore's pride and joy, you know? And so he talks in a way that, like, he personally knew him. I'm sure everybody on the island was aware of him, but this guy seems to imply that, because he's a pretty old dude. He looks about maybe the same age as Vegapunk, maybe even a little older. Vegapunk's only 65. I thought he was a lot older, honestly, originally. I thought, like, Vegapunk would have been, like, over 90 or something. But no, Vegapunk's only 65. This man looks like actually older, maybe in his 70s or something. So maybe they knew each other growing up or something like that on Baltimore. Like he was maybe a close friend of Vegapunk, who knows? There's another person in the crowd that's like, wasn't Vegapunk responsible for the nightmare of Baltimore? It was his lab that blew up. It's like, oh no, that was Frankie. He's a ship now. Like, I get it, that's probably just this version of it, like this translation, like, but that's great. That's just great. Like, no. Vegapunk didn't cause the nightmare on this island and set off a nuke. That was Frankie. He's a ship now. You know how it goes. You know what's also great? In the background, there's people that are dressing like Frankie. So there's a dude way in the back. I don't know if it's a person or one of the cyborg animals, but either way, they have a design just like Frankie, post-time skip. They have the giant orbs on their shoulders. They have the arms that are like, you know, like blocks or like rectangles, like big cases. They're actually Frankie's toolboxes. He reaches in there, right? There's a cyborg animal that has the mane of the Sunny on it, like attached to it. So Frankie has influenced the fashion choices of this island, if nothing else, which is once again weird because he caused a nightmare on this island. He set off a nuke on this island, and the people are like, well, you know, we all make mistakes every once in a while. He did have a fashionable outfit. And so they're kind of dressing like Frankie here. But yeah, like, you know, he's Frankie. I heard he turned himself into a boat now. Well, Frankie, good luck to you. Anyway, Vegapunk, what's his story gonna be, you know? So that's interesting. We got to see Baltimore. We also see the Torino Kingdom, Birdie Kingdom, where Chopper studied, where we see the natives there that once again are, like, Oda kind of depicts them at first as like dumb cavemen, you know, like, it's like, I am Ugg, how are you doing, ooh, you know, kind of things. But they're actually super intelligent, and they have a massive library and have, like, studied the medical field extensively. So this guy is just like, yes, Vegapunk message. He is the king of science, but he uses it to make weapons. Bad. But he's good. But weapons bad. You know, like, kind of like that. So the people on this island, I mean, they have weapons too. They have rocket-powered spears, but that was because of the birds. You know, they're chilling out now. The bird, there's actually a giant bird in the back that's like, ah! You know, just like listening to the message as well. So, more about medical technology here than weapon tech, but they are capable of that as well. We have Hachinosu. We don't see anything important, so don't get excited with Hachinosu. Like, whoa, what's up with Garp? Is he in the cell or something? Like, no, we don't see Garp. We don't see Blackbeard. We don't see any of the Titanic captains. We just see a bunch of the pirates on the island. There's one pirate that's just like, you know, settle down, you scurvy dogs. I'm trying to listen to the big brain man. And just like, oh, this son of a bitch, you know, cheated at poker. I'm not gonna let that slide just to listen to some egghead. He's like, what are you calling a liar? I ain't calling you for dinner. You know, and they're just... My pin smacked me in the face. But anyway, yeah, they're just fighting out in the background, and they're like, you know, I'm trying to listen to Vegapunk over here, damn it. You know, just like there's one pirate that like really cares about, you know, current events in the world, and just everybody else is having a slobber knocker in the background. It's the pirate island. What do you expect, right? So anyway, we also just have other random islands. There's an island with a bunch of like balloon stuff going on here. I think we have seen these before. It's just that they don't give like actual nameplates. So Mars shatters, back at Egghead, Mars shatters the distribution Denden Mushi, only to reveal another Denden Mushi. So that outer casing was just that. It was a facade to make it look like a visual Denden Mushi, when in reality it was just a regular Denden Mushi inside. So and thank God Marcus doesn't kill that one. I was actually worried about that Denden Mushi. Like, even if it wasn't the one, it was only, I thought it was like multiple live streaming Denden Mushis broadcasting the message at once. So even if he destroyed that one, the others would go, but that would still mean that a poor animal had to die. You know, it's like Marcus would still have like just destroyed, like killed an animal right there, and the Dendenmushi doesn't deserve that, right? They're not part of this. They're just pets, you know? But no, thankfully, it was just an outer casing, and there is a real Dendenmushi inside. Like, you know, like he was doing that thing where the message is going, but you put like a walkie-talkie in front of the one message, and then you can chain the message as many times as you want, so you can't pinpoint its exact source. He was kind of doing that. And after Marcus destroys the facade, he's like, oh, it's just a regular Dendenmushi then. Crap. We can't stop this, I guess. And then he just leaves. He gets pissed and he leaves, but he doesn't kill the actual Dendenmushi. That Dendenmushi gets to live on, so that's good. And also, Vegapunk planned all this. He was just like, yeah, and then that's where the voice was coming from when, you know, because Mars mentions later in the chapter, he basically has the ability of like, I'm like telepathic. I can sense telepathic signs going on. The Dendenmushi communicate via telepathy, all right? So that's where the small voice was coming from. I could sense some telepathic signal coming from up there. So he kind of knew that he was going to lead him into Punk Records. That was kind of the whole idea, right? So he's like, that means there's that this isn't just a hiding place. It was just a decoy. He explodes out of Punk Records. He breaks out of the hangar, goes back into his Itsumade form, and he's just like, no! And he goes flying away. Curse you, Vegapunk, and your brains, you know. And then it's we have Shaka there, and he's like, you know, Stella, you already did the introduction. You don't need to do the hello world. We already did that. That was actually the name of a chapter a while ago. You could just start the message. And Vegapunk's like, alrighty then. Well, without further ado, let's start the message. And then we see other places in the world. We see Kenzen Island, which is the homeland of the Long Arm tribe. We see a bunch of people, like nomads, just camped out in the mountains. And their like kid wakes up and just like, Mom, what's going on? And just like, oh, don't worry about it, honey. A very important man is about to give a message. You just go back to sleep. Like, it's like 2 in the morning out in the mountains, and even like these like nomads are listening to the message. This is how important Vegapunk is to the world, right? So the other Gorosei are communicating with Mars and are just like, dude, Mars, what's happening? You didn't stop it. What are you doing up there? He's like, guys, I got some bad news. Yeah, he got one over on us. There's no way I could stop the broadcast. And so we didn't give him enough, we were cautious around Vegapunk, but we weren't cautious enough, it seems. There's currently no stopping this. And according to what York said, he's going to continue on the Flame of Ohara. So he says to all of the Gorosei, this won't be a repeat of what happened with Clover. Clover was about to say the name of the Ancient Kingdom, and then we shot him. The implication is he's going to finish what Ohara started. So they think the message is going to be Vegapunk's going to reveal the name of the Ancient Kingdom to the world and probably everything he knows about that. And it does give the Gorosei pause. Like, the ones that are in their yokai forms, you can't really tell, but they do kind of like their eyes like widened a little bit. Saturn, I think, even does have a bead of sweat going down his forehead here of just like, whoa, you know, and we have Venus, Juro, Ethan, he's just like, huh? You know, so they look perturbed by this. They look upset. Now, do they look upset because of their own well-being? Like, oh man, this is going to be bad for the world government. Or are they upset because Eam would be upset about this? Eam does not want this information to get out, and now it is. And so they're like afraid of getting yelled at by their boss, basically, or killed possibly by their boss, getting their immortality ripped from them or something. Maybe Eam could do that. That's not good, right? We have Sanji running through the battlefield carrying Vegapunk's corpse, basically, and he uses his observation to sense Bonnie is crying out, and so he's running toward the battlefield. He sees Ethan about to slice down in his centaur form with the Shodai Katetsu, bringing it down. So Frankie jumps in front of Bonnie, and Frankie's like, don't worry, Bonnie, I got this right now. Sanji runs in, and he's like, out of the way, Frankie. I'm the one that's gonna pull off this dramatic rescue. So Sanji charges in while still carrying Vegapunk, by the way, and then just boom, uppercuts Venus Juro with his freaking foot, and just boom! And you know, it's great. It's an awesome page where he just like, boom, hits him right here under the jaw and just knocks him straight up. We see part of his glasses break too, I believe. I've seen a lot of fan art on the internet drawing Ethan Baron Venus Juro as Eustace Bagg from Courage the Cowardly Dog, because he's like a bald, angry guy that has glasses, like, stupid dog, you made me look bad. But here's the thing. In this shot where Sanji kicks him in the jaw, Eustace has a very pronounced, like, underbite, like his jaw is very extended. He looks even more like Eustace when Sanji kicks him. He just, like, juts his jaw out even more. Just like, ah, stupid German brat, booga, booga, booga. You know, it's like something like that. That's really funny. Now, it is a good thing Sanji showed up, because the way this scene was, Ethan was bringing down the katana. He was two-handing it, too. Bonnie was there. Frankie jumps in and kind of, like, does this. I have no doubt Frankie would have lost an arm, which isn't that big of a deal for Frankie because he could just rebuild it, but he would have 100% lost an arm if, you know, if Venus Juro brought down that sword. Maybe even more than that. Maybe he would have, like, lost, like, the entire left side of his body, okay? Like, I'm sure Frankie is strong and he's made of stern stuff, but that's probably the Shodai Katetsu, one of the Saijo Owasumono blades, that is hockeyed up and wielded by one of the Gorosei. That was going to slice through Frankie like butter, okay? And Frankie doesn't have armament hockey that we know of, so going straight down, whatever. I mean, it would have not ended well, okay? So I'm not saying Sanji's going to, like, yeah, okay, now I can beat, you know, this guy, but he does get an attack out on Ethan there, okay? So he hits him and he's just like, we're not gonna cut you any slack just because you're old. This is a battlefield, you old geezer. And then boom. Now, this is actually really cool. When his head is kind of sent back after getting kicked by Sanji right in the jaw, his head just kind of like lights on fire. Might be like blue fire because he's like a ghost. He's like a horse skeleton that controls ice, so maybe it's like blue fire. And then the horse head, like, juts out of him. So he was in the centaur form, like the lower half is the Bokotsu, upper half is his human form. He gets hit by Sanji, his head, like, all, like, ignites in fire, and then the horse head just comes right out of his chest and bites Sanji in the air. Now, when that happens, Vegapunk also gets knocked out of Sanji's arms. Atlas picks up the Stella's body. Don't worry about that. So Atlas catches him. Bonnie is like, Sanji, no! But Sanji doesn't, I mean, like, he doesn't look comfortable, but at the same time, it doesn't look like he's mortally wounded or anything like that. He is a Germa. He does have, you know, the hardened skin and everything, so that's probably going to save him. You know, Sanji's just kind of like, ah, dang, you know, but it's not like, you don't see any blood or anything. You don't see, like, blood, like, splurting, which, you know, if he was anybody else, like, even if he didn't have the Germa tech, if he got bitten by a yokai horse like that, I'm imagining that would have, like, snapped him in two, okay? So Sanji's not dead or anything, although it, oh, actually, now that I'm looking at this panel, hold on, wait a minute. Enhance. Did Ethan bite part of Sanji's dick off? I think it's just above. Oh, that's close. It's close, though. It's very close. Very close to his crotch area. That horse's mouth is, yeah. Okay, so I hope Sanji's okay. Sanji, your dick! No! You know, yeah, so Oimo and Kashi arrived, thankfully. I kept forgetting about Oimo and Kashi. They arrived and they're like, hey, Kashi, what's up with that guy? I don't know, Oimo. Well, let's wrestle it, okay. And so they just put, like, Ethan in a headlock, and that knocks Sanji out of his mouth. He's like, oh no, is my dick okay? Okay, thank God. Woo! You know, just like, yeah. And so they're, like, freaking wrestling the giant centaur thing. By the way, now looking at the scale here, Ethan was huge. We already knew that, but, like, the perspective now with Oimo and Kashi, like, they are giants, and Kashi is putting this horse in a headlock, and he's, like really wrestling with it, okay? So it's like, he's a big horse, okay? Not just, like Frankie-sized or Whitebeard-sized. No, it's a giant horse. Like, Oimo and Kashi would be able to jump on the back of this thing and ride it perfectly fine, I think, right? So that's the general size of the Gorosei there. Atlas picks up the Stella. Bonnie now takes advantage of this and uses distorted future, give me a giant future. And I think because she's now encountered Luffy in Gear 5th and knows that Luffy is Nika and everything like that, Bonnie has renewed her confidence in her power, and it's like, I can become a giant. And so Bonnie turns into a giant, and it's like just like the scene at Onigashima when Luffy turns into a giant and is about to like just step on Kaido. Same thing here, where she turns giant and she brings down her foot to step on Ethan as he's being held down by Oimo and Kashi. And Ethan kind of just looks up like, ugh. He's seems to be transforming. No, he's back in the centaur form. He's still in the centaur form. Shodai is there. It's all hockeyed up. And she's bringing down the foot, you know. Back to Vegapunk's broadcast. I believe I will soon be executed for my transgressions. I have committed 2 major sins. Vegapunk doesn't clarify any further what the sins are. Keep in mind, I think the way that sins, because it was used by by York in the last chapter. York said, you know, I don't want to rack up any more sins with the government. Because the Gorosei and the Tenryubito in general view themselves as gods, it would make sense that they would view any transgressions against them or any disloyalty or any traitors amongst them as sinners and committing sins, okay? So I don't think Vegapunk's using this in like the religious context, like, you know, like he's violating the laws of a god or something like that, like the 10 Commandments or something, right? No, it's more of like the context of how the One Piece world is set up, where the Tenryubito, I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if the Tenryubito, like, there is, like, you know how, like, it's against the law to attack a Tenryubito or an admiral will show up? The way that law is probably phrased in the One Piece world is like the 47 deadly sins, and there's probably a lot of them, and one of them is never lay a hand on a celestial dragon. You know, that's probably one of the deadly sins that, you know, is going on here, right? And so that's the way it's presented, like sins as laws. So when Vegapunk says I've committed 2 sins in this world, he's probably saying like there are 2 unbreakable laws that exist in the world we live in under the world government through the Tenryubito, and I have broken 2 of those. And they're probably on the level of like, you know, don't strike a Tenryubito. Probably not that specifically, but other ones like that. That's probably what he's talking about there. So he says to the world, this message will broadcast when my heart stops beating. So I'm probably already dead when everybody's hearing this. And we see the reaction from people like Sabaody. There's like, does that mean Vegapunk's dead? No, it can't be. I ordered a brand new blender from Egghead the other day. Oh, it's gonna take forever to get here now. We see Duval, and he's like, wait a minute. This morning we heard that the Straw Hats were taking Vegapunk, you know, hostage. Did they kill him? It's like, just like they have no idea what's going on here, right? Like Duval doesn't know anything. We see Caesar and Judge in the background. They have now formed Neo-Mad, so that's the Germa Kingdom. And Caesar's pissed because like, oh no, you lying bastard Vegapunk. You can't just die. We surpassed you. We were supposed to kill you. He doesn't say that. He just said we teamed up so we could surpass you. He doesn't say like, I wanted to be the one to kill you, Vegapunk. I don't know if they wanted to kill Vegapunk so much as they wanted to one-up him, all right? They wanted to show that, like, oh, you know, Vegapunk was always better than Caesar and Judge and Queen when they were in Mads, so Vegapunk now is like, oh, he's getting older, and maybe Caesar and Judge were like, if we team up and work together, we can surpass him, you know? Like, so maybe that's what they were going for there, and Caesar's crying because it's like, oh no, Vegapunk, I didn't get a chance to prove I was better than you. It's just like he's not upset that he's dead, although he is, but not for those reasons, right? We also see Morgan's, and Morgan's reaction is priceless to this. He's like, hey, what's the idea with such a big worldwide broadcast instantaneously over a new kind of Den Mushi? Are you trying to kill print media, Vegapunk? Morgan's, don't worry. We live in the year 2024 right now. We have access to instant communications, high definition 4K Twitch streams and YouTube and all these sort of news websites and Twitter, and we can communicate with people on the other side of the planet just like that. Don't worry, despite all of that going on right now, we all have like computers and stuff to access all that in our pockets. print media is doing just fine. So don't worry, Morgans, it'll be good. What? I still read the paper. I read it the other day. I read my horoscope. It was bullshit, but, you know, it was the paper. Okay, yeah, print media's on the way out. Yeah, Morgans saw the prophecy, the writing on the walls. They're like, wait a minute. This is a problem. Well, Morgans, this is why you gotta innovate, okay? You gotta get yourself a YouTube show. You gotta get a desk and you gotta get out there and you gotta be like, welcome to the One Piece world. The world government doesn't want you to know this. Morgans just becomes the Alex Jones of the One Piece world. You know what? I mean, he could do it. I'm like, look, could Morgans pull it off? The answer is yes. Should he? No, but he could, you know, like, all right, like, he has to innovate, man. Start a podcast, Morgans. Okay. Start a welcome to the Den Mushi cast. Dude, I kind of wish Den Mushi did exist as our form of communication. Can you imagine doing a podcast, but with Den Mushi, every streamer, every YouTuber, every podcaster would have their own personally designed Den Mushi that they would stream through? That would actually be kind of cool, right? Like, that would be neat. Okay. All right, anyway, Vegapunk says something very interesting here. He says, I want to make one thing clear to the world. Please do not assume the ones who strike me down are evil, regardless of who they seem to be. I do not intend to discuss what is right and what is wrong. I am not qualified to judge such things, and I do not know nearly enough about them, or in this translation, it's him. So the idea is, Vegapunk, when he's recording this message, he doesn't know how he's gonna die. He just knows the general idea, like, the government's gonna come after me and kill me. And since we do see Saturn on this page, Vegapunk probably did assume Saturn's gonna be the one to kill me. So maybe he's referring specifically to Saturn here. Like, I am not qualified to judge such things, and I do not know nearly enough about him in any case. Okay? Maybe the Gorosei in general, maybe the government in general, or maybe Saturn specifically. Like, Vegapunk's like, nope. Saturn's gonna come here and he's gonna kill me. I know what's gonna happen, okay? Maybe because he's very smart, he could have predicted that outcome. Okay. There's a lot of stuff to unpack with that, with, like, from a philosophical, like, good and evil kind of perspective. Now, this goes along with something that Vegapunk said earlier in this arc when he was explaining devil fruits. It was just in the anime, like, a couple weeks ago. Remember that line where Vegapunk was going on about what devil fruits are and, like, the desires of people in the world? And at the end of that explanation, Vegapunk said, is there a god in this world? Well, to me, it doesn't matter. I don't really think about such things. With or without a god, this world is truly amazing. And here he's saying, I don't really think about things from the context of good or evil. I'm just here to, like, I'm here to just tell you the facts, and I'm here to make things. Vegapunk's personality seems very much like, I don't even, maybe not necessarily he doesn't care, but he doesn't put any attention into, like, religion or gods or good or evil or any of that stuff. He just wants to make shit, you know? He just wants to further science, to improve the world. So maybe more humanist would be the perspective from Vegapunk. But he just doesn't put stock in that sort of stuff, okay? Now, is this something Vegapunk's just saying to the world? Or is this a little hint that Oda is telling us here? Okay, what I mean by that is that Vegapunk says here that, like, don't judge the person that killed me, Saturn in this instance. I am not qualified to call them good or evil. And also, I don't know nearly enough about him. Now, this is an interesting way that Oda's going this direction. Like, dude, if the writing follows the flow that I'm thinking, Oda could have something really big here in terms of a different way that a manga's final villains could be, you know, dealt with, you know? Because I'll tell you, up until now, and pretty much all throughout the Egghead arc, has it been any debate the Gorosei are evil fucks? They are the rulers of the entire world. I mean, Eam is there too. They're all the rulers of the entire world. They seem to lack a lot of basic emotion, much like a lot of other Tenryubito, like empathy and care for other people. they can turn into giant yokai, like a huge spider. Like, they are literally monsters. I have referred to them as yokai. I have referred to them as devils and demons because that's how Oda depicts them. But Vegapunk is saying here, like, I don't know their whole story. Now, I'm not saying that I want Oda to give us a sad, tragic backstory from all of the Gorosei, and I'm like, we are redeeming Saturn. This week, we're redeeming Mars. This week, we're redeeming Top Man. No. But I don't think Oda is just going to use the Gorosei as like, here are the final villains of One Piece. They're literal devils from hell. They're objectively evil. There's no good in them. You don't need to know about their backstory. You don't need to know about whatever. They're evil. They're demons. The Straw Hats kill them. They defeat the world government. They defeat the Tenryubito. Call it a day. That's all, okay? I want to know the history behind the Gorosei. Not to redeem them, just so I know what the hell happened, you know? Like, what happened to them? I think they were humans at one point. They might have even been involved with, like, Joy Boy's crew or something, if they're that old, if they're way back from the Void Century or something like that, right? Like, I had the idea maybe it was like they joined, like, throughout the centuries. They weren't all joined at once, but maybe they were all around during the Void Century all at once, and they were, like, Eames' closest followers or something, and then that's what happened. I don't know, but, like, Vegapunk is basically saying, like, yeah, I know I'm probably going to get killed by one of the Gorosei, and I know, and he knows at that point, when he's making this message, all the horrible things that Saturn did with, like, Bonnie and Kuma. So there's really no, like, calling Saturn evil is perfectly fine from this perspective. From all the crap that he did with Bonnie and Kuma, and you know, forcing Vegapunk to remove Kuma's memories after protest from Vegapunk. You can call Saturn evil. That fits his character, right? But even then, Vegapunk is like, I'm not qualified to talk about good and evil. That's not what I'm here to do. All right, don't hate the person, whatever. Anyway, here's my message. Like, so Vegapunk here is just trying to tell a very specific message to the people of the world. Yeah, we see a close-up of Saturn, and then we have a scene with Saturn in the very next page. So it seems like Oda's showing us, like, yeah, Vegapunk knew he was probably going to get killed by Saturn, and he's bringing this up here. He's just like, don't do the evil good thing. Just don't do that. Just please, just listen to what I have to say here, okay? So I'm really interested in where it's going, because I feel like, yeah, if Oda did do that, like, oh, they're just a bunch of demons, they're irredeemably evil, just kill them and we can end the story. That would be boring. So many other stories have done that before. I want to see where Oda goes with it. I want to see where Oda goes with it. And it's up to the viewer at the end of the day. It's up to the person reading the manga, watching the anime. Maybe we have the backstory of the Gorosei, and we have a story of Saturn, and Saturn was born like any other normal human, and something happened at some point. Like, let me put it this way. Let me phrase it this way. What's more interesting narratively to you? The Gorosei are irredeemably evil from the day they were born, or they turned into this. What series of events could lead you to this? Saturn as a like giant, like they've been alive for so long, they've lost all sense of morals and ethics, and they've literally morphed into monsters. What series of events could occur to lead them down that path? That's interesting to me. I want to know what's going on with that, all right? And I want Oda to explore that, not for redemption, but for just the sake of understanding what the Gorosei are as characters, rather than just like final bosses in a video game and nothing else. Okay? So we'll see that. Now, we see Saturn next, arriving at the top of the Labo phase, and we have Brook, Usopp, Chopper, Robin is still in that like levitating like stretcher, like gurney kind of thing, and then Nami's there as well. And so Robin is there, and she hears Saturn's voice like, "Step aside, vermin, I have no time to deal with you." And so Saturn's about to attack them all. Robin remembers the call that was through, the Cypher Pole 9 were there, and then they put out the Den Den Mushi, and the Gorosei were talking to Clover. And so Robin remembers all of their voices. So I guess their voices do stay the same when they're in that form. Interesting. So Robin is like, "I know that voice. That's Saturn. That's one of the guys, that's one of the Gorosei that shot and killed, or gave the order to shoot and kill Clover," right? And so Saturn looks down and is like, "You must be Nico Robin, the woman Akainu let slip between his fingers, that fool." And so Robin's like, she's terrified. Robin is like, goes pale. She's like, "You're one of the 5. Oh God, no." You know what I mean? Like she's genuinely fucking horrified, okay? Also, the line that Saturn says, "Akainu slipped through his fingers, that fool." Once again, this doesn't diminish Akainu's actions. What if the Gorosei ordered Akainu, as a vice admiral back at Ohara, to shoot down the evacuation ship? Like, he gets a call because they know he would give the order. He would do it. Not to say that, like Akainu's like, "No, I didn't want to do it, but they pushed my hand. I had to do it." No. Not like that. It went more like this. "Hey, Akainu." "What?" Vice Admiral back then. Vice Admiral Sakazuki. "What?" "We want you to exterminate that evacuation ship. There might be some scholars on there." "Yeah, you make a good point. I was thinking the same thing." "Order the fire." That's, maybe it went like that. Akainu's still an asshole for that. Like, he's still evil in his own right to order the death of an evacuation ship, right? But the Gorosei are also involved on this, and they contacted him specifically because they knew he was the guy that would have done it. He doesn't have morals or something like Kuzan in the same way, right? Like, he would have given the order, and he did, okay? I don't think, if that is what happened, that's not confirmed here. That's just my headcanon, just from that line of dialogue. But if that did happen, I think you could still retain Akainu's character and Saturn's, deviousness. There's nothing lost there, is what I'm saying, right? So Robin is about to be targeted directly by Saturn. Saturn is going to kill her because she can read poneglyphs. We need to eliminate her, right? Nami is looking around and she's like, "Wait, what? That's one of the 5 elders?" And Nami takes her climate attack and she shouts to every Straw Hat around her, "Protect Robin!" And so this is an awesome, this might be like, the next page is cool too because it's Vegapunk's message finally revealed. And we got a lot of other cool stuff here. The chess page was really cool. Dude, this page right here. Saturn brings down 5 of his legs that have that sharpened claw at the point that's going to just stab everybody. One of the legs gets blocked by Chopper. He goes guard point, blocks it. "We'll protect you, Robin." Zeus comes out of the Climateact, blocks another one. He's like, "We'll protect you, Robin." One of the legs pierces the levitating hospital bed that Robin was on. Nami grabs Robin, hauls her out of that. The leg destroys the gurney. So Nami's like pulling Robin out of the way, and then Zeus is coming out to like block the attack. Usopp fires a shot, blows up one of the legs, and then Brook takes out Soul Solid and slices one of the legs off with a freezing cut, and you can see the wound is like frozen as he cuts it. That is an awesome scene. We see some of the more weaker members of the Straw Hat, the cowardly trio. Chopper, Nami, and Usopp. Brook's also there as well. Robin's severely injured, so she can't really move that well on her own. But we see the cowardly trio, plus Brook, standing up and like, "Nope, this is one of the Gorosei. We're going for it. Because Robin's going to get killed. We're not going to run away here. Okay, it doesn't matter who we fight. It could be Godzilla. Doesn't matter. We're going to save our friend. We're going to die trying." Like, that's how it's going to go, right? So that is so cool that they all work together. Like a one big unit. Like, Nami shouts out, "Protect Robin." They all get that. I'm sure Usopp is scared. I'm sure Chopper is scared. But it's like, nope. We gotta stay and we're gonna protect her. We're not gonna run away. I mean, we are gonna run away once we get Robin. We're getting the hell out of here. But like, we're not gonna let him just kill Robin and use that as a distraction and run away. We're saving her, So that's an awesome scene, right? Now, couple of scenes here that are layered over with Vegapunk's message, and then we get to the final page of the chapter where the message is said. So let me go over the pages first of what everyone's doing, and then I'll get to the message, okay? Mars is flying around. He says, "This is futile. I sense so many different telepathic signals from around the lab. I cannot pinpoint the one that the message is coming from that specific Denden Mushi. And it might not even be up here, you know? And so York is like, think, where would I put it? I'm a Vegapunk too, where would I put the message? Maybe they could find the message and end it before Vegapunk, like, continues and, like, finishes his whole message, but part of the message definitely comes out, right? So maybe York might figure it out. Then we have, at the last panel, we have Mars communicating with the other Gorosei, like, what do I do? Do I destroy the power plant? I could just blow up everything. And so Saturn's like, no, don't do that. It's out of the question. Not only would that destroy all of the surrounding area, and then, like, the battleships here would all get obliterated, but also we wouldn't be able to use the Mother Flame anymore. And we just can't stand sacrificing that. Like, EAM needs that thing, okay? So you can't just blow up the power plant. Don't do it. And then that brings us to Vegapunk's message. And he says over and over again, he says it like 3 times, but I understand why he's doing it. He's like, listen, the world, Quasar, what I'm about to tell you is gonna be something you're gonna think is a joke. It's gonna sound ridiculous. It's gonna be like, there's no way that could happen. What are you saying? I need you to understand that this is how it is, okay? I'm not being funny here. I'm not telling a joke. Even if it sounds ridiculous, I need you to believe me as the smartest man in the world, this is going to happen. So he says that in, like, different ways, like 3 times. You know, I want everyone to be aware of this issue. I'll cut to the chase. Our world is going to sink into the ocean. And we just have a small pan out of Egghead as the clouds part and some sunbeams fall down on Egghead as it zooms out over the ocean around Egghead. And then we see the Marines looking up like, what? And then we have a scene of under the ocean where we have mermaids swimming around, which this'll be fantastic if you're a fishman or you're part of the merfolk. Like, no problems there, right? You know, or if you're a whale, a laboon will be fine, if nothing else. You know, and you see a whale, not a mountain whale, not an island whale like laboon, but like a whale just, you know, sailing around. And then, yeah, that's the end of the chapter. Break next week. It's Golden Week in Japan. So, that's the end of the chapter. That's it. The world is gonna sink into the ocean! And it's like, oh, okay, well that, explains a few things. Wow, okay, so there's a lot of different directions to take from this, obviously. I'll be making a follow-up video, and I'll do a stream and discuss this and everything. It makes sense why Marijois on top of the red line now. Highest point in the entire world, that fits. There's always been a theory that the red line's gonna be destroyed and flood the world, okay? Because if the entire red line were to just destroy, just fall down, that's gonna push all the ocean level up, right? So that could be this. Also, it could be a thing where, I don't even know if this makes any sense, but is it possible that at one point the red line was sea level? Like, you know, here's sea level right now. The red line is way up there. Is it possible at some point it was like this? And then over the course of the last 1,000 years, it's been like water going down a drain? Water going down a drain. Water going down a drain. Okay. Enies Lobby, and I guess Lelucia now. That could be something. Maybe it's just... the water is going down the drain. It's just taking 1,000 years to empty out the bathtub because there's a lot of fucking water. Maybe? I don't know. If all the oceans were to flood at once too, that would be the all blue as well. That's another thing. That ties back into that. Oh, before I forget, at the end of the chapter when we see the clouds part and like a light beam coming down, I don't think that's anything sinister. I don't think that's like, you know, it's the Mother Flame, you know, like, I don't think it's anything like that. I don't think it's like Lelucia. No, I don't think it is. Yeah, I think it's just like the sun comes out, like the revelation to the world, right? I would say that if you're living on Fishman Island, everything will be fine, but Charlie still had the predictions. So if the red line collapses and that floods the world, Fishman Island would be destroyed as well. So that would lead into that, right? The Noah can float. That's going to be a saving grace. Water 7 can float. You know what? When Iceberg was like studying, it's like our island is sinking. maybe it was just all islands were sinking a little bit, but maybe he just kind of figured it out. You know what I mean? Because Water 7 isn't a huge island. It's not the size of like Alabasta or Dressrosa or something like that. You know, so maybe Iceberg figured out like, yeah, we're sinking like a couple of centimeters every year. That's going to be a problem. I'm going to turn it into a boat. So Water 7's going to be fine. They're okay. They got the best shipwrights in the world. They'll be sailing on a wing and a prayer. They'll be perfectly fine, right? So don't worry about Frankie's hometown. That's set. Don't worry about Skypiea. Sky Islands are fine. You know, Conus is up there right now having a delicious pumpkin spice latte up in Skypiea. She doesn't have a care in the world, you know, okay? But as for like 99% of everybody else in the world, everybody in the East Blue, the Baratier will be fine. The Baratier will still serve the most amazing grilled steaks, even if they are floating in a vast ocean of nothingness, right? After everything is sunk down there. So yeah, there's a lot more to this. Obviously, this is a huge revelation that we need a little bit of a moment to adjust to and look at all the options here. So I'll get into that later. But that's the chapter. We're going on break for 2 weeks. So next 2 weeks will be that. And then we'll get chapter 1114. Thank you for watching, everybody. What did you think about Vegapunk's revelation there? What's the first thing you thought of when he said, our world is sinking into the ocean? Did you think about All Blue? Did you think about Redline, Marie-Joie, Enni's Lobby and the Drain, Water 7 and the ship, the Fishmen and the Merfolk? Like, what was the first thing you thought of, okay? Because I've been seeing a bunch of different people take a bunch of different directions with this. So, thanks for watching. This will be Teching, signing out. Later, everybody.